You're
Go,
up.
Al.
Sheila, mwah, mwah, mwah.
No, you're
Yeah,
doing it wrong already, man. You're supposed to do the Star Trek theme or whatever so I can introduce us.
so from the original Star Trek.
Just do the music. There we go. Goodness. Good morning. Welcome to Sheila and Kevin. And my backup music right there is Al Yeck. And I've got Angel with me today. And Angel, good morning.
Good morning, Sheila. How are you?
Fabulous. It's a Friday, and it's actually National Take Your Dog to Work Day and the first day of summer.
I
Yeah.
Any
know. Well,
Yeah?
it's the longest day too, right? It's the summer
Yes.
equinox.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
So it's one
Summer
of those that you
solstice.
hope, since it's going to be the longest, that it's going to be a good day.
It sure is.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Every day's a good day until you screw it up, you know?
Every
So
day is
true.
a chance.
Every day. So let me tell you how I know Al.
Okay.
High school, okay? It's a long-term relationship that's been going on here. And, Al, I wanna ask you, do you remember how we met? Yeah.
So I know you're not talking about on the stage because we had already met before that.
Right.
Okay. Probably at a party. Maybe I was in detention with you.
That's a good one. I don't remember, that's why I was asking.
Maybe we were in school suspension together.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Uh,
Do you remember what he was like at Wayne High School?
It was, I remember that after we left, that they changed some rules around because
Yeah.
we had really taken advantage of the system and really probably caused some administrators to retire early.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Um, just to explain, we both went to Wayne High School in Huber Heights, Ohio, and this place was, I don't know, back in the 70s. We had the run of the town. At lunchtime, what did we get? An hour, and we could leave the building and leave the premise and go to McDonald's, and people were getting drunk and stoned and coming back late and wrecking their cars.
I didn't wreck my car. I wrecked Steve Zantel's car.
Oh, Steve Zantel's
Well, it
car.
was Steve Zantel's parents' car, and hit an ice. Taking somebody home at lunch, he tosses me the keys. I hit an ice patch, run into one of those poles in front of KFC, and just
Mhm.
He had a Volkswagen Bug, which is the engine's in the back, so the whole front just smushed in, and that was and it wasn't until Sunday when Mrs. Zantel called to talk to my mom that I told my mom because this probably happened on a Thursday, but I didn't want to get grounded.
Oh, yeah, the weekend.
Yeah. So I didn't tell her until Mrs. Zantel called, thinking that my mom was not being very responsible and not talking to her. So yeah, so that was not a pleasant exchange at that moment for the two of them. But since then, Nancy has forgiven me, Steve's mom, and
Yeah.
my mom.
Well, that took a hot minute because wow. What kind of episodes did you have at lunchtime?
Uh,
Fun.
well, yeah, same thing. We'd go out and probably drive around and get stoned, and just it was the thing to do
Yes.
at that time. At that time.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually had a drive-through, drug mart across the street. It was called Community Park.
Park. Oh God.
Dude,
Oh,
Angel, we had a crazy high school. Okay, so out in the back, you had 2 smoking areas. The
Okay.
one up close to the building was for cigarette smokers, and the one out back by the back fence behind Philbrin Hall was for the pot smokers.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's what happened at our high school.
that was
And, Al, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, I guess. Al, I'm gonna have us T-shirts made. I'm just gonna say that right now. Anyway, after high school, Al went into the military like a whole bunch of people that we went to high school with. Why was that? Because you felt like you needed to cleanse yourself from all the crap you did in high school, or just because really that's what you wanted to do?
All of the above, but part of it was also I didn't think I was going to graduate. That my
Oh,
GPA was
dude.
so bad, and um, but I was in downtown Dayton, walking somewhere, and there was that area where you had all of the recruiting offices next to each other, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and the Marine recruiter had the dress blues in the window, and I was like, man, that's sharp, sharp looking uniform. So I went in and signed up, and I signed up when I was 17. So mom had to sign the papers, and that was a 2 week argument on that too. But
Oh my
delayed
gosh.
entry, so I went in after graduation. Uh, so I actually graduated.
I thought you did.
Yeah, surprise to everyone. But I think that and then part of that is um, so Huber Heights, Ohio, is outside of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, and so my dad was a retired lieutenant colonel, and my brothers were in the military. In fact, if I go like that, you can see that line
Yes.
there. And then
It's
the same thing, like my friend Al Shirky, his dad was Air Force. Um, Gary Edwards, his dad was Air Force, and
Scott Houchins,
yeah, Scott.
was in the military with you. They're just you could go on and on with all the people, and that's insane.
Yeah, and it was a very different time then because
Yeah.
when you there was no really there was nothing. It was after Vietnam, and so there
Mhm.
was that period of time where a short period of time where we were actually at peace with the majority of the world
Yeah.
that we knew of, and so yeah, there was so many of us that went in, and Jeff Barker retired from it.
Yeah.
A lot of folks.
Oh my gosh. Angel, do you have a picture of, Al that I sent you of football?
Oh
Give
no.
me, give me a minute. I'll make sure I pull it up.
Okay. Yeah, I sent Angel a couple of pictures. Actually, the picture he's gonna show you, I pulled it out of one of those football, what do you call those when you'd go to the football game, the program.
Okay,
I couldn't find my 79 yearbook.
I
I
can't find mine either.
I've got 78 and 80 left, but I don't know where 79 is. But I found your picture in the little program thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's yeah, you got the horse collar on and whatever you call that thing.
Yeah, that was one of those where I was very much into sports, but really I hated school. Now, with that
Yeah.
said, after I got out of the Marine Corps and I went to college, my attitude was very different, and
Yes.
also I think so. It was I ended up with a 3.8 GPA in both my bachelor's and master's program because again it was that different mindset. But yeah, no, I as far as high school, I loved the social part of it, but hated the schoolwork part of it.
Yes. I
There,
did.
just
Isn't that the most beautiful picture?
well, what and
Wild and carefree.
and one of the big differences is I remember that I had.
Oh,
Let me
dude, you did have hair.
put it there. Man, I'm going to put this back on because I think I'm blinding everyone watching
Uh,
right
uh,
in the
the
glare.
I sent Angel a picture of me in marching band. I think it was the same year. I don't remember. You graduated in 79. No, I
Yeah.
was a warriorette by then. And I had really short hair. I played the flute and band camp was an experience. We'll talk about that some other time. But Al, you went into the Marines and you went so many places.
So in the Marine Corps, and at first I'd signed up as to be a combat arms bonus and be in a tank, and that was influenced by watching the movie Patton. Right? I mean, we were
Oh
just
yeah,
so
that great movie. Yes.
yeah, John Wayne and all of that, and so. But then my brother, who was a mass chopper pilot in Vietnam, called me up and he said, "What are you going to do that when you get out?" I mean, just really. So it's I don't know, and so I went in open contract, which was kind of dangerous because they could have stuck you in anything. When I say dangerous, I don't mean dangerous like like frontline dangerous. I mean that I could have been scraping paint or doing something that would have been my job. And what I ended up in, and this is this is again going back to, I did not apply myself in high school, but in special, because of my test scores, special intelligence telecommunications. So I was in crypto vans. So I would encrypt and decrypt messages between CMC, Commandant Marine Corps, and other bases and everything. Uh,
Cool.
so I was stationed in. Of course, I went to Paris Island, and then I was down in Pensacola, Florida, NTTC Corey, Naval Technical Training Station, for a while to get my skills, over to San Angelo in Texas, and then down to Guantanamo Bay in Cuba before, before all of the prisoners that we housed there. At
Yeah.
that time, it was just the Marines that were the actual prisoners on the base. And then over to 1st Radio Battalion, Kaneohe Marine Corps Air Station. So because of my background, when I got out, I went back to Ohio for about a year and a half, and then the State Department called me up. So at that point, then I went and was in the U.S. Department of State for 7 years, going to my first was in Libreville, Gabon, at the American Embassy there. So I was doing the same job, just for a different government agency. And then after that, I was able to get to Beirut, and which was really one of the big motivating factors for me to get into the State Department, because so that would have been 84. But in 83, so I got out of the Marine Corps in 82. In 1983 is when the Marine barracks were bombed
Oh, God.
in Lebanon. And I remember waking up, I think that Saturday night, Bill Olson and I, Bill went into the Army,
Yeah.
and he was a Green Beret, that we were probably out drinking and eating White Castle at 3 a.m. and then went home, and I woke up to the CBS Sunday Morning News, and there it was,
Oh,
the 238 Marines blown up while they were sleeping.
oh my gosh, that is just so horrible.
And yeah, and it just, so I was actually possessed with getting to Lebanon to try and understand how this could happen, why this happened, what kind of people would do this. And so my first tour in Africa. So then I bid on an assignment, and I got Beirut, and those were 1 year tours. I'll come back to this later on, but I did three 1 year tours there. And then after that, I went to the American Embassy in London, and then after that to the or before that, the American Embassy in Bogota, Colombia, the American Embassy in London, and where the hell else was that? And the American Embassy in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, arriving 2 weeks before Saddam invaded Kuwait for a short period of time before the Gulf War started. And our two-person shop went 7 days a week, 24 hours a day for the entire time. They eventually sent us a third person,
Oh,
but yeah, it was just, I can remember doing 80, 90-hour work weeks because there was two of us, and then when the third person came, I was still the supervisor.
oh,
So, and we had, the military and the politicians, everybody just flooded in. So it was constantly things going on that needed to be addressed. And my daughter Amanda was born during that time, that October, while it was the Desert Shield, which was the buildup, and then Desert Storm followed, which is the actual engagement with the Iraqis. So
wow. So once you came back,
yes.
what did you do? When you were finished with your military career, what did you do? You came back to Ohio?
I came back to Ohio for a little while, and I enrolled in Wright State University as a an acting major.
Did you really? I had no clue. Now
Yeah,
that's really cool.
yeah, it's
Have you
just
been in any big productions?
not there. I mean, I was like, because so at that time I think I'm 28, and so all the other kids are 18. My instructors
Yeah.
are probably 30.
Oh,
So I would
gee.
get the roles of like
Grandpa?
Grapes of Wrath. I was, yeah, Grandpa Jones or whatever
Oh,
his name
shoot.
was. But it was fun. I did it for 2 years. During that 2 years, I also wrote a play called 2266, which was about POW MIAs in Vietnam.
Nice.
Going back to that, we were, Huber Heights, Beaver Creek, those towns were built on Wright-Patterson Air Force Base.
Absolutely.
And so there was a woman I met. I can't remember how the connections were made, but I was researching the play, and her husband was an MIA. Uh,
Oh,
they took off from Bangkok. They hit their targets. Two airplanes coming back. They go into a cloud bank. One comes out. No maydays, no explosions, no nothing. Just one comes out, and they never could confirm a KIA or a POW. So he was an MIA, and
mm,
that just really hit home with me. So the play I wrote was about the loved ones trying to find out what happened to their people that were missing in the Vietnam War, and
that
and
that's
that went up,
heart-wrenching.
that went up in New York off Broadway, and on opening night, General William C. Westmoreland came as a guest of honor.
No way.
Yeah, and a lot of people, we know who he is, but if you
Mhm.
don't, he was the commanding general, the four-star general over all forces in Vietnam. And um, I remember, and I didn't do this intentionally. It came, I connected it afterwards because he sued 60 Minutes for doing a piece on him that was slanderous or defamation. I forget what it was, and he won. So he said he would never return to New York again because that was where 60 Minutes was based out of. But he came back for the play, and in the play there's a line about the one of the other characters says to another one, "Don't believe everything you see on 60 Minutes." Had nothing to do with him, nothing, but it was in there, and he was in the audience, and I know he loved it.
That's so cool. So next, what happens
So,
next?
so then after that, I returned to Ohio, and at that time, my mom's not doing well, and dementia, and then eventually Alzheimer's, and so I was working. I was at that time I was working at Wright State, and then later Sinclair in their continuing education departments, and just the flexibility was wonderful with the folks that allowed, especially that at Wright State, where I could just come and go
Yeah,
as needed based on what was going on at home. And
it's
for
wonderful.
example, for that one year, another friend of ours who was the
Mm.
chief of the fire department, Foley, Kevin Foley.
Yeah.
So I called him, and he ran the report. And so in 10 months, they had done 12 emergency visits to the house, to the hospital, to all of that.
Oh gosh.
Eventually, we had to go into assisted living, and then thankfully that was like a 10-month period also, and then she passed away. So at that time, it's okay. What am I going to do? And so I went back into well, I advanced within continuing education. I picked up a position up in Michigan, up at Bay College, as the executive director for workforce development. So while I was there, I also took on the role of executive director for workforce development and the credit programs of business and technology. So now I'm over those programs, and did that for several years. And at that time, my family, I was the only one that had traveled, and so I wanted to show them more of the world. So I applied for a position in the United Arab Emirates and was accepted. And then we spent the next 7 years in part of it was in one of their towns called Al Ain, and the other was Abu Dhabi.
I
So
remember seeing those pictures of you on a camel. Uh,
that's how I went to work.
yes, that's so cool. Al, now you're doing something that is so spectacular. You are working, well, basically with your colleagues,
Yes,
veterans,
yes.
and you're doing things that are so wonderful at the farm. First of all, congratulations on all of you guys out there. The pictures and the videos that you sent me are just amazing, and we'll show some of those. But how did you get involved with all that?
So I was still in higher education, and at this time I was in upstate New York with Elmira College, and it was at the start of the pandemic, or I should say, the start of the pandemic. It was that 2020 timeframe when everything just shuts down, and they were doing layoffs.
Hmm.
So I remember the first round of layoffs, and I was like, it was like watching for the, you got your lottery ticket, and you're watching the ping pong balls pop up, and it's like, oh, I was so close. So they
Almost.
just like, come on, lay me off. So on the second round, I got laid off. Okay, and then my daughter had come to Asheville for her internship with the VA. And at the end of that year, they offered her a position. So I came down for that Thanksgiving after that first year that she was here and fell in love with Western North Carolina. And then it took me 3 more years to get back, which was the layoff time. And then while I was here, I discovered the Veterans Healing Farm, which was it was founded by Nicole Massey and John in 2013. And I started. I had never met them when I started as a volunteer, but I came one day for a tour, and then I never stopped coming back. And while during that time, he had some mental health issues, and so he stepped down from the executive as the executive director, and they were looking for someone else. So I applied, and then the rest is now it's four years later, and we're in a new location, in a new place that we own, along with the bank. And so, real quick, what we do. So the mission is to enhance the mental, emotional, and physical well-being of our nation's veterans and their families. And we always highlight families because there's so many organizations out there that do wonderful things for veterans. But we know that if the veteran is hurting and comes back to the whole family hurts. So all of our programming that we do is for everyone. So what programming do we do? So we have our agritherapy umbrella, and under that we have a beekeeping team run by a 22-year retired Coast Guard veteran, and the rest of the team are veterans. And it's one of those things that if people come to the farm, and they want to learn beekeeping, we'll teach them. They don't have to be beekeepers. They don't have to be a gardener. They don't have to be any of that. We'll show them all of that. And then we have a garden group, which is the produce and flowers. All the produce we grow will go to the Charles George VA in Asheville, and we'll give it back to the veterans and those that take care of us, the caregivers.
Love that.
Then we also, within our own Henderson County community, there's Safe Light Women's Shelter, and they run the Dandelion Cafe with some of their people. So we'll give our produce there, and they'll use it in the cafe. We'll give it to the I Am Food Bank. We'll give it to the Rescue Mission. We'll give it to whoever needs it, because it's the process of working together in the soil and growing things that's the healing part.
Exactly.
Exactly. So that's the garden side, the bee side, and then we have a medicinal herb squad that has last year it was 68 different medicinal plants, and they grow them, process them, make teas, tinctures, salves, bombs, and the big three for veterans are always sleep disorder, anxiety, and inflammation. And plant medicine was how it always was before big pharma. Before they realized how much money could be made, and big pharma makes money from us being sick. And
Absolutely. I can't stand it.
and there's times when medication is absolutely needed, when
Yeah.
psychiatrists and psychologists are absolutely needed. But we work with the VA here that also understands that that's not always needed. And so what's other ways? Well, what we do with we say we're the leader in non-pharmaceutical, non-clinical mental health interventions. So
Nice.
we have the agrotherapy, and then we get into our workshops. And all our workshops are either therapies or therapeutic. So we'll do equine therapy, canine therapy, music therapy, art therapy, neurofeedback therapy. We'll do jam making, vegetable canning, inoculating logs for oyster mushrooms, just a whole host of things. We'll do our medicinal herb classes taught by the director of plant medicine, and all this is free for the veteran community, which are veterans, family members, caregivers, and volunteers. So last year we did 47 workshops for over 500 people. This year we're going to break that record substantially because we're in our new place now, which is the old place had a covered deck and with some Conex boxes. It was fine, but in January of 24, the landowner, we were leasing it, told us that she wasn't doing renewing the lease, and we had to be off the land by that August. So we looked everywhere, 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 everywhere. We packed everything up that we were allowed to take into pod containers, put them in storage. We were working from home in coffee shops only for about 10 days. And then the place where we're at in Mills River, North Carolina, 10 minutes from the Asheville airport, popped open on Zillow. So I called my realtor. We're out here Monday. The board's out here Wednesday. Wednesday afternoon, we're contacting banks. And it was only on the market for 5 days.
That's amazing.
Now, there's a part of this story where it really gets into the providence. And that is, so in January of 2024, we're told we have to leave by August. 2 days later, so I used to say I had a wonderful thing and a terrible thing happen. So 2 days later, we get a call from the Hendersonville Chamber of Commerce, and we were selected as the nonprofit of the year. So we go through all this time. Now we buy this, our new location, 11.6 acres in Mills River. Beautiful home, large barn. I mean, just a 2-acre spring-fed lake.
Nice.
Just beautiful. We move in the Tuesday before Hurricane Helene hits Western North Carolina.
Oh my gosh.
If the viewers out there have not, I think they've heard of Hurricane Helene because it's so devastating. It was a once in a lifetime, once in a millennial type attack on this area. Changed the physical map of Western North Carolina. This flooding. This new property, we lost 2 trees.
Oh.
The old property completely wiped out. Completely wiped out. So now I say in January of 2024. We had 2 wonderful things happen.
Yes.
We were selected as the nonprofit of the year, and we were asked to leave.
Yeah.
And so bigger things were working that we don't see.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yes, and it's been wonderful ever since.
Sometimes to be that phoenix rising from the ashes, you've got to go through crap, and it sucks, but I'm so glad it worked out that way for you. Now, you're looking for a little bit of love from some people we went to high school with. So let's go backwards to high school again.
Yes.
We went to high school with some really bizarre characters.
We're being very kind on your
Oh,
bizarre. Bizarre is a good word. Bizarre.
yeah. I mean, okay, take a look at some of the people we went to high school with. We went to high school with comedians, actors. I'm in the Hall of Fame at Wayne High School because of voiceover, and a guy that's in TV nominated me. So I'm on the wall there with a couple other cool people, Kim and Kelly Deal.
Yes.
And actually, they graduated with you in '79. Twins, just in case people don't know. Kim and Kelly went into music. What all do you know about them? Did you hang out with them at all?
Absolutely. I mean, more so Kim than Kelly. And of course, Kim was the football cheerleader.
Yep.
And then our senior year, she was the one that had the
warrior.
The warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she had the leather stuff on, and then the headdress.
Yeah.
The cheerleaders were in normal cheer outfits, but
right.
And we went to a dance together, and I was thinking of that this morning because I wore, and so this was 78, 79, but the thought of the suit today, it was a brown corduroy suit, the pants matched the jacket, and with a corduroy vest.
Oh, I can see you in that right now.
It's terrible.
Oh.
Terrible. But I haven't seen. So when Kim and and was started with the Pixies, and then Kim and Kelly later with the Breeders. I was overseas most of that time. So I mean, I'd come back and I would follow their success through other friends that were still in the area, and they'd say, "Hey, have you heard?" And then of course MTV at that time when they did play music videos and
Yeah.
just the radio to be able to hear them.
Yeah.
So always kept up with them. Now Kim's on tour by herself. Kelly's had a fantastic business. I'm going to screw this up, so I don't know if it's. I'm going to screw this up. I don't know if it's crocheting or knitting, but it's making something
Hats.
a
She
scarf,
Yeah, scarves and yeah, scarves.
but has a tremendous following too, and quality work. So,
Yeah.
and Kim's on tour right now as a solo artist.
Yeah. And you would like her to play at your place, wouldn't you?
I would love for her to come and do a fundraiser for us. Helene wiped out a chunk of our donors, and so it's been a hard year for everyone, and we recognize that. And so I was trying to get a hold of Kim, and um, I didn't want her number. I just wanted to give somebody my number or my email contact that would pass it to her. And if it's not something she can do, of course I understand that. It's been quite a it's been 46 years.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
It's been a minute. So, but we were friends back then. So,
Yeah.
it's like I tell my people, ask, 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 ask. So it's like, well, I need to ask too. And I mean, I do all the time on corporations and individuals, but I need to ask him. So I tried to contact her manager through LinkedIn, but and I've got that LinkedIn where you can direct message people,
Yeah.
but he never opened it. And again, I understand why all these people reaching from every direction. And then I tried through the agency, the booking agency, which AEE or EEA or something, some artist EE something. Well, so they responded to me, and then I said, yeah, I'm looking at a fundraiser, and well, how much you gonna the you fill out this little thing online, and it starts at $10,000 and goes up. So I had to click 10,000 just to get a response, and I said, well, I was hoping Kim would be able to do it at cost, or whatever that would look like. And then it's like if you could hear silence on the internet. Hello, hello?
If you have to ask, you
Yeah.
can't afford kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't been able to get a hold of her yet, but I'm going to keep trying, and I would love to. I would love to see her again, and whether it's going to be at our 50th reunion,
Oh my
or
gosh, that's coming soon, isn't it?
yeah, we're 4 years, well, 29, so 4 years out, or if she's traveling, if she doesn't want to do it again, I completely understand. But yeah, if she's traveling through the area, come see the farm. I'd love to show her around. So
I want to come see the farm. And I actually remember when I was working at the X radio station, or maybe it was the Edge, I don't remember. It was alternative rock. So we had the Goo Goo Dolls in town, and we had No Doubt was in, and we were doing a live show in the studio for specific listeners that won, so they could come in and listen to the Goo Goo Dolls play. And Ms. Deal showed up, and she was on drill team at one point. So I asked her to do the fight song. And so we on the air, nobody could see us, but we did the fight song, da, 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 all that.
falls in line.
Yeah, yes. And that was so much fun. And we had pictures of her actually on the balance beam doing the splits from the yearbook that somebody had made copies of 8x10s and brought them in. Like, this is wonderful. I mean, fun. I
Yeah.
used to smoke, just so bad, but used to smoke cigarettes with her in the
Oh yeah.
Kilburn Hall bathroom. Yeah. She
Yeah.
doesn't remember that, I'm sure. I do, because I got in trouble a lot. So anyway,
Yeah, me too. That's why I'm sure we met in school suspension.
it's very possible. I was in school suspension several times. I don't remember for what. Probably from skipping school because we'd have senior skip day, and I skipped the year you guys were seniors, and was
Oh,
helping Scott Shaw
Scott,
wash
yeah,
his wash his Trans Am,
oh, Bam, yeah,
and I got busted. Yeah, so
yeah. They caught us a few times too. I think that senior year I was absent 36 days, and I learned to sign while I was in school suspension. I learned to copy Mr. DeArmond's signature. So friends from the office would give me hall passes, and I would sign his name and go
dude,
teach.
I took hall passes from DECA.
Oh,
So
you gave me hall passes before. Now that you say that,
I had a pad of them that I had acquired from Mr. V. And I shared with a lot of people because I like to be giving, you know. If I'm going to get in trouble, so are you.
yeah.
Now wait a minute.
I got them from Sheila. Ha!
For for skip day, did you guys ever have? Now, of course, it's going to date all of us here, but did you guys ever have a truant officer that would ride around in his personal vehicle?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Did we?
yeah. He came to Mark McSherry's house. Mark opened the door. We're all in there, and he sees him, and Mark just closes the door.
He lived in the hilltops or something, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah. And so, I mean, it's a truant officer, so it's not like he can kick the door in or anything. He just closes the door and locks it. Then we just stayed until he left. But yeah,
Angel, did you do that kind of stuff in school?
So I listen. I was the huge and biggest nerd ever. So I never did skip day. I could have, but I never did. But the funny part was, so we had two things. One, we had a vice principal that was really cool, and then we also had a truant officer. As long as you didn't get too much into trouble, he would let like certain things slide. So on skip days, and it finally people started catching on. There was a sign. I don't know why people would fall for it, but there was a sign on the front door that would say, "Senior skip day, go through here." And so when you walk in the morning, it's like, why would they put that up there? I mean, that's like the easiest way to go out. So we had this other guy, Eddie Stoner, big curly hair.
Good guy, good guy.
Yeah, really good guy. But he would turn around. He's like, "Why do you guys fall for that sign? You don't go through there because you know who's waiting on the other side." I'm like, "No, dude, we're basically passing by the front office." So the rule was, if you were able to go through that door, pass by the vice principal and the truant officer who's waiting for you on the other side, they would let you skip. But of course, you pay for it the very next day. That's just the way it was. But it's funny because today you ask a lot of kids today, "Do you guys know what a truant officer is? Like, what is it? Like a cop?" Like, no, he was better because if he started to get to know your parents, then you were too much in with them because that meant that he now made this kind of commitment to your family saying, "Don't worry about it. I'll make sure I'll take care of so and so." But yeah, it's completely different from we went to school and the stuff we were able to get away with to now, which
Yeah.
was harmless, truthfully. Now it's a whole different story. But nah, kidding me, I wish my sister did. She got away with it big time. I can air it now because we're all grown. But oh yeah, skip day for her. That was almost like every day, and she still passed.
If we,
great.
yeah, we would have the teachers watching us from, I don't remember which teacher it was, but one of them was watching with binoculars to see who was out behind Filburn Hall where we would smoke and stuff. And, you know, we were just the typical boisterous, fun teenagers who would take alcohol in our McDonald's cup with Coke filled with Jack Daniels to the football games. You probably don't know anything about that, Mr. Yeck, because you were playing the football. I was a warriorette sitting there, and my boyfriend would bring me a McDonald's cup with Coke and Jack Daniels before halftime show. So I'd be out in the mud doing splits, and I didn't care because I was having fun. Yes,
And you know, not to be there. Back in my day,
yes.
but it was it today there was no violence going on. You know,
No, we were
Right.
having fun.
yeah, it
We
was
weren't beating
fun.
the crap out of anybody.
It was mischievous, but it was not like it is today with I mean, the all of the violence that goes on in schools. Uh,
Yeah.
so it was a very different time. So it can sound like it was wild for our age and for what we were supposed to be doing, but it was never hurtful.
No,
Right.
we actually cared about each other, and didn't want our friends being busted.
Yes,
We
yeah,
stood up for each other as much as we possibly could without shooting our own foot off, you know? Uh, Football play I mean, okay, back in high school, and you mentioned the stage. So I will find a way to have these t-shirts made. FOPSA. Al invited me to be in this very elite
yeah.
club called FOPSA. FOPSA. It means Fraternal Order of Pot Smoking Athletes.
Ben Papa made that up, and we went with it. But
Yes. Yeah. And the soccer guys. Oh my
oh
gosh.
yeah,
Just
so then because at that time, I mean, Animal House was like the big movie the
huge.
year
Yeah.
before, yeah. So it was, and then Grease came out our senior year, so we were all kind of in that, you know, different clubs type thing.
Yeah, and I think that is just the most amazing FOPSA. So kudos to Ben Papa for creating that, and I'm gonna find a way. We'll have T-shirts. We'll have T-shirts.
And
High school was so fun, though. It was stupid fun. I mean, how many things I did that we're not going to talk about,
yeah,
and
and it's like, well, that's I'm so glad we today with the cameras and the videos and
Oh
yep,
yeah.
so everything you do is online.
I
Uh,
know. I don't
thank,
care what you ate.
yeah, well, but everything. So I'm glad that that didn't occur there. And it was the kind of thing that you know, because we're young and dumb, we don't understand that how our lives could be affected forever by some of these decisions had they gone in a different direction. And
Yes.
by the grace of God, uh,
Racing on Rip Rap Road.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
We had a drag strip. What was it? A quarter of a mile? It's no longer there in between two bridges. And if you missed your turn left, which was a hard left,
yeah.
you crashed into dirt. Just like
Cornfield,
yeah. And I don't, they closed it for a reason because people
yeah,
were really getting hurt. And
yeah.
I'd go out there at lunchtime in my Pontiac T37, 3 speed on the column car, and drive that sucker as fast as I could make it go. And that was fun. Fortunately, it didn't wreck. My
Yes,
mom
yeah,
didn't know about that either. So,
But the thing
uh,
is, the big difference today, though, Al and Sheila, as we're talking about, is that back then your parents were heavily involved in your life. There wasn't a thing like you can get away with stuff. Don't get me wrong, because as teenagers back in the day, we could because there
yeah,
were certain sly things you know you could get away with, and then if your parents were here about, it, it's like, what are you talking about?
yeah,
They don't know what they're saying. So it was different because there was always involvement. If it was some after school program, there was involvement, especially if there was school sports, there was a major involvement. Now I get it with like some parents because not all kids have mom and dad, and we get it, we understand it. So that means that one of the two, whether you're living with your mom or your dad, they have to work. So unfortunately now these kids are raised on YouTube or what they see on social media. So social media raises today's children.
I'm
Our
so glad we didn't have it because we
yes,
lived in the moment instead of having to record everything to possibly look back on it. I mean, I see all these people at shows recording the show that they're watching, and it's like, why don't you just
yeah,
absorb that
yeah,
and put memories in your head instead of a video on your phone that you're never going to see again?
yes, yeah. Be in the moment.
Yeah, I think that's the whole different, Angel. I think that's the whole difference between now and then. The kids today are so afraid
Yeah,
of so many things, like talking on the phone. They don't do that. They don't know how to socialize.
they don't. And it's a shame too because they can't.
Yeah.
The art of communication is gone. Like I just learned a couple of days ago, apparently the Red Sox organization decided to talk to future candidates by using an AI bot. And so the AI bot would ask you certain questions, you would answer it back, and then they would go back, take the recording video, and then analyze it that way. So to me, when you go to a lot of these restaurants now and you see young people right across from each other, it's like you just sit there and you try not to ear hustle and all, but they're texting each other across
Yeah.
the dinner table. I'm like, do you guys know how to speak? And I even worked with a
Yeah.
guy not too long ago at the school district down here in Florida. And he was, if you guys ever watch Big Bang Theory, you have Raj. Raj, unless he was drinking, that was the only way he was able to talk to girls. So the gentleman I worked with, it wasn't about talking to girls. He was just talking in general. I'm like, dude, why don't you speak? I don't know. I just, I never grew up in a kind of society like you guys, where you guys talk to one another. And that's how you met people. That was
Yeah.
the only way, because if you didn't, I was shy, don't get me wrong, back in the day. But once I discovered, like, oh, if I actually speak, people talk back to me, that's the entire thing. But in this day and age, you can't. And the reason why I mention it as well, because if you think about it today, and if you flip it back to yesterday, for those of us who are in the military, you can go through PTSD. If
Yeah.
you're in your recorded banks, that's what you replay in your mind. So none of us ever want to go to war. At least now, I can't speak for today's modern soldiers, but I don't want to have someone record me and then send me the video and saying, "Oh, look, this is how life almost ended up ending for you." I don't want any of that.
No.
It's bad enough that we have to go through it and erase some parts of our memory from that. But that's why it's amazing to me, like the art of communication. Because if you're going through stuff, and my wife and I will go to different places, and someone just randomly comes up and talks to me. Don't ask me why. I still try to figure out to this day. But if it take 2 seconds and actually listen, as long as they're not harassing you, sometimes that quick 5 minutes can change even their day. And at the end of the day, you walk away from the conversation like, what was that about? I don't know, but it sounded pretty good. So it's just the art of communication is just going away. And it's a shame, because before it was never such a strange thing, like, oh, who the hell is this person coming up to me? Before it was like, yeah, hey, how can I help you? Now,
Right.
forget about it.
You look people in the eye. I think us older folks, and I hate putting myself in that category, but I think the more mature adults are here. That's even worse. I think us people that are like me and Al and Angel, I think we're able to look people in the eye, and the kids of today can't. They don't know any of that. They haven't been taught, or they don't want to know, because they've got that phone in front of their face all the time. Can't do that myself. I want to go to the beach and watch the crazy people that are walking by my tent. I've got lots of people to watch. Why do I need to look at my phone?
And using, when Angel mentioned PTSD,
Yeah.
I want to use that segue too, because the last, so I talked about agritherapy, I talked about our workshops, and then we do events. So we hosted the Traveling Vietnam Memorial Wall and Traveling 9/11 Memorials, and we had 3,856 visitors come in 4 days. We were
Wow.
open 24 hours a day with completely lit.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
then we do kayaking trips, fly fishing trips, ball games, hockey games, whatever we can do together, we'll look at. And so I talked about the mission, but so we're talking about PTSD, we're talking about traumatic brain injury, we're talking about military sexual trauma, which leads to PTSD or other issues through trauma, and then what we do as an organization to help those veterans and those families. And so I always like the example of beekeeping, and it applies to everything. But so if someone were to come up to me and say, "Hey Al, you want to go to therapy?" and I'd say, "Well, hey, thanks for thinking of me, but but no, I don't." But if they said, "You want to go learn beekeeping?" Well, that, I mean, that sounds cool. I can't. I don't have a suit. No, we have one for you. Okay. So now I'm going to beekeeping. Now I'm meeting other beekeepers, other veterans that are beekeepers. So that's camaraderie. Now I'm part of a larger community, because there's the Beekeeping Association of Henderson County, and then tons of beekeepers all the way around. So I'm part of a larger community, but also part of the community at the farm. Now when I'm working with bees, It's the mindfulness. And that's where Angel was talking about. PTSD is I'm thinking about what happened,
Yep.
or I'm thinking about what could happen. I'm not in the moment where I'm safe, I'm dry, I'm fed, I'm hydrated. Everything is good right now if I can stay here. Well, beekeeping keeps you there too with the mindfulness. Now you also have a purpose as a beekeeper because the hive is depending upon you for mite treatments, for food in the wintertime, different things. And then it's the power of nature, being outside. And all of these are proven therapeutic benefits. And so we operate everything that we do has to meet that requirements. And and it's all towards helping people heal, and that recognition that still today there's a number 22 a day that's
Yeah.
off out there, and Duke University and the University of Alabama did a study 2014 to 2018, and this is published, and it was published by the VA also, and they selected I believe it was 8 different states, and they drilled down to the county level of reporting. And what they found out was underreporting, misreporting of veteran deaths, and that the number was closer to 40 a day of veterans dying by suicide.
That's just horrible.
It is, we are now at 7 times, 700% increase of the number of veterans that have died by suicide compared to who died in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Jeez.
It is the second leading cause of death for veterans under the age of 50. And it still needs to be addressed. And that's just what we know from our Vietnam veterans, that many of them are still going through things and did for years after Vietnam. So Vietnam, let's say the troops, by 75 is when everything fell. But I think the troops were out by 73, and 83, 93, 2003, 2013, 2023. But so we're just starting this with our Afghan Iraqi vets. And now the systems are much better to help them. The VAs are much better. That started after the Gulf War when McCain and Dole were going to check on the troops, and it was just disasters. But today the VAs have come a long way, and I love our VA here, and it takes very good care of all of us. But it's still continuing, and that's where our mission comes into play, and our vision
Yep.
to end the veteran suicide crisis. So that's what the farm is about. That's why we come in every day, why we love our jobs, why you can work 60 hours a week and still come in the next day and be excited about coming in.
Exactly. Because it's something that comes from the heart. And when it comes from the heart, it feels so much better for you and all the people that you service. I mean, you help so many people. And that's why, hello, Miss Deal. Please
Yes,
please
Kim.
give Mel a call. He'd like to take you to a dance wearing a brown corduroy suit with a
With the vest.
corduroy vest. Will you wear that if she comes out and plays?
If she comes, I'll go find one. Or I'll
Okay.
have it made if that's
Okay.
what it takes. And also, one that I've been trying to get, and that's not off the board yet, because part of our property, we've got a space dedicated for a new veteran memorial garden. And this is not a veteran memorial garden of granite and flags, and it is a memorial garden of flowers and benches, a monarch butterfly way station, a peaceful place. This is in the works moving forward. It's a fairly large area that I want to have set up.
Beautiful.
So I want Martha Stewart on that one to come and to design that garden for us. Now,
Okay.
Megan at the farm, I say that, she goes, make sure she brings Snoop. So
Oh,
yeah,
I'll be at the farm that day. I'm coming over. You'll have to find a place for me at your place, Al, to stay, because if Snoop's coming and Martha, I'm gonna go hang. Yeah.
so now with Martha, I actually talked to her agent, or
Yeah,
back and forth.
cool.
It's not a no yet, So I just every once in a while I'll send an update to the farm, or I'll send a clip, a video, or something that we're doing, and it's not a no yet. So um, yeah,
Maybe you need to send her this and let her, digest the portion where we talk about her.
yeah.
We want you, Martha. We need all kinds of. I mean, I'm sure she makes some great edibles, don't you think?
She probably I'm sure she probably does.
Yeah, she's hanging with Snoop. There's interaction there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine that if they both showed up? That would be just a party. If everybody could, okay, just hypothetically, if
Mm.
those two showed up, and you would just ask for even a dollar donation up to maybe five, just keep it something simple. Could you imagine the money that was just raised with that short amount of time?
Absolutely, and that would we have an endowment set up right now with a little bit of money in it. My goal is to hit if I can hit 5 million in there, then the farm continues forever on interest.
Well,
And
let's make that a goal.
let's make that a goal. I agree. I
Yeah,
agree, absolutely.
let's ask, people that are watching and listening can help
And for
too.
any, so it's www.veteranshealingfarm.
That's like a rolling scroll right there.
It is veteranshealingfarm.org. And when you go there, you'll see our website, and there's donate buttons everywhere. Like in this picture, you can see the donate button on the right hand side. And I say I do not go buy a Coke machine without checking for change for the farm. So I know times are tough for everyone. Prices are up everywhere. Inflation is on. There's nothing that's like, wow, what this is a great buy. I just want to make sure everyone understands we appreciate so much if anyone that can donate anything they can to help us in our mission.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Veteranshealingfarm.org.
ORG.
.org.
Yes. So, anybody doing anything fun this weekend?
Bring
We have a wellness retreat that we're doing here, which includes yoga, tai chi, sound vibration, a cold water plunge, gourmet lunch, healthy gourmet lunch, and some other stuff. I've got an actual board training instead of that. So
Oh,
I know.
sorry.
Yesterday we
No
had
fun.
Yesterday we had a blacksmithing class out here. It
Hmm.
was so cool because the guy brings his kiln, brings his anvils, and if you want to relieve stress, take like a Thor hammer, a piece of molten metal, and an anvil, and just start bashing it. And I tell you, you feel pretty good after that. And then they made
Yeah.
so they had made a bottle opener and a fork, and in the past made knives and. Today, we also have a different volunteer groups out, plus a healthy meal prep workshop, which is a great day to be at the farm because the person who teaches that, and again, everyone leaves, having made their meal, but with a plan going forward. But then there's plenty of leftovers. So,
Yes, we like food.
so it's a
I
lunch.
like food.
Yes, a lunch day for me.
Al, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you and I appreciate everything you've been doing. And I love your story and I love you because you're just one of my besties. I love it. So help him, please, people. You're there. And Ms. Deal, come
Yes,
on.
Kim, come. If you know Kim, pass her the farm's website
Oh,
or contacts on there. So yeah,
yeah. Angel, thank you. And you have a wonderful weekend, everybody.
you as well, Sheila.
thank
Thank
you,
you. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
thank you, Angel. Sheila,
Eh,
I started that way and I'll end it that way. Thank you for everything.
Anytime. We'll have you back.
Thank you. Come for a visit.